Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast. Excited to be here today. Today's episode is 110. If you've been listening, I'm excited for this one because I had a plan for 100 through 110 and I feel locked in. So, not trying to get this over with or anything, but I'm excited to have more freedom after this in my own mind. We'll see if that actually happens, but thank you for being here today. Today, I'm going to talk about how to build or create or sustain all of the above support systems that help you with your ADHD that actually fit into your life. Because some things aren't easy to fit into life, and sometimes we have to make room for it, and sometimes maybe we don't want to, and that's okay. My psychiatrist resident last year, maybe earlier this year, I've had 3 different residents. I have a fourth one in my next visit, but I have to go every 6 months to be able to keep taking my medication. And I had just come back from a trip, and I was telling him, it was maybe a week and a half later, I was just telling him that it was harder for me to get back to being productive, being organized to the point that I was before after the trip. It took me a long time to do that. And it was just something I was learning about myself. And the medication didn't really help with that. And I really just needed to talk out loud. I mean, it's not like he was my therapist, but when I said that, he said, well, maybe you should go to a therapist or a life coach or something. And all I thought is, no. I mean, I even told him that. Not that I'm against therapy or life coaching. I'm actually a certified life coach, but I just thought I am constantly trying to learn more about this. I have a lot of people I can talk to. I have a lot of support systems. I don't feel like that will add to anything or help me right now. And maybe it would, maybe I'm wrong, but I just thought I don't have time for that more than anything. I don't have time for that. I teach so many yoga classes. I have so many places I need to be and doctor's appointments and things. I can't fit one more thing in. And when I think about anything that we want to add into our lives, it might be hard to fit in. And so if there's something that you've been wanting to do or set aside time for, I want to talk to you about how to maybe get that done today or how to find time for it. And I apologize for my voice being so groggy sounding. It's just still the end of having a cold, and it's just how it is. So here I go. But there are different ways to find support. Some of them are pretty obvious, like the therapist, the coaching, and that's actually really super helpful for women with ADHD. It may be something you're doing right now. It may be something you're interested in doing. I'm a certified life coach, but I'm not doing that right now. I'm not focusing on one-on-one coaching. It's not that I haven't done it, but I'm not focusing on that right now. Just adding that because it's my distraction in my head that I needed to get out. But that is one option for support. You could have professional support, you could have personal support, you could have self-support. That's an option that's professional support. You could have support groups. It could be an online group. It could be a local group. I don't know of any local ADHD groups. I don't live in a huge city, but I know universities sometimes have things like that set up through their counseling centers. They do that for anxiety or depression. They'll have groups where you can listen to a therapist in a group. I even do this in person. Someone I know did that in person, a group therapy. I guess I want to say session, I want to say group, but I already said group. A program for depression, for therapy for depression, and you went every day and met with the group, met with the therapist, and once a week had time with that therapist. So there are group therapy options, and there may be one in your community. Might be in person, it might be through a university. Maybe it's open to people who don't go to school there. Maybe I know community colleges a lot of times offer things to the community when you're not a full-time student. So those are things you can look on into. And they're definitely online groups. I want to actually do that in different ways, not just call it a support group, but have different programs. It's just one of my mini goals. We'll see what happens with that someday, but maybe we'll do that together someday. But also, you could just even have family and friends. That could be 100% your support system. It could be a big part of your support system. Not all of them want to talk to you about these things, and they don't even have to have ADHD to be someone that supports you. Sometimes I think of, oh, I'm getting the support from the people like that I relate to that, oh, do you do this? Yes, I do that too. And that is a level of support for me, but also friends or relatives who talk to me about things that I do that they don't notice that I think are glaringly obvious or that are ways about me that a lot of people don't have, and it's probably due to ADHD. So that can be helpful just to talk to people who don't relate, but even just to let you vent. My husband listens to me vent. I don't know if it's venting. He does listen to me talk a lot about things that I just need to talk about that he's not necessarily giving any input to, but I just talk and talk and talk and talk. And that is a level of support for me. And even just talking out loud to children, you can do that. Not that you're gonna share your problems with them, but I find that when I'm around other people, I talk out loud more, especially children. I didn't realize I did this until I was pregnant. I talked to my oldest daughter, who's now a mom, has her own children. She did a podcast episode with me, but I talked to her throughout the whole pregnancy, everywhere we went. I'm in the grocery store. Should I get Cheerios or should I get Wheaties, whatever it was. I just talked to her out loud. Didn't realize it at first, but I did. And when she was born, the first time I went somewhere without her, I missed her. I missed talking to her. I just thought I'm used to narrating my life. And it is helpful sometimes to narrate your life. I didn't really notice I do it with my grandchildren until till my grandson asked me about it a couple of months ago. And now I notice it more. And maybe I probably did it with my kids all the time when they were growing up, but he just said they call me Marma. "Marma, why do you talk to yourself all the time?" And I was just saying, like, "First I'm gonna do this," something they'd asked me to do, and, I was saying, "Well, I'm gonna put this load of laundry in and da 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 da," and it wasn't really to explain, it was just to make sense of my plan in my head. And it was a cute moment because he has ADHD too, and he knows that Marma takes the same medicine that he does, and and I said, "Oh, I think I talk out loud because it's part of my ADHD." And I said, What do you think you do, because you have ADHD?" I don't know how I worded it, and he started thinking about it. It was a fun little conversation, but it could even just be conversations out loud that don't have to do with ADHD with children. If you narrate life, it can help be a support, not the support. Sometimes we think of support as coming to somebody with a problem and saying, "Can you help me with this?" Or it'll just help me to talk about it. It'll just help me to cry about it. And that is an amazing way to have support. But other ways to have support is just to do something that supports your ability to function. So that is one of those. Seeking accommodations, creating your own accommodations. You can ask for accommodations if you're in college, if you're in high school, if you're listening in high school or with your mom or something, and you're younger, you can ask for those things. I wish I'd known that. This is my first time I think I've ever thought, I wish I'd known I had ADHD. I don't think they had ADHD accommodations then anyway, but it would have been helpful now that I think about it. Not that it matters to anybody else, because it's clearly been a long time since I've been to college. I went to college right out of high school, but I got straight A's in high school and everything. I took the ACT, and you're not supposed to say, my kids tell me it's not the ACT test because the T is for test, but I took the ACT and I got perfect scores in two of the sections and not so perfect scores in the other two. They're all timed. I could not get the comprehension fast enough on those questions. So the science and math, zipped through, understood it, did it. The things that I had to read, process, and look at the answers, I had 4 or 5 in each section undone at the end, so I didn't score as well. And I only took it one time. I was from a very little town, drove a half hour to take it. I don't know if it was offered more than one time then, but that lesson taught me to have my kids take it like 3 times, and it really made a difference. Their scores would boost because you get used to the timing. But my youngest daughter, when she was in high school, she said, "It takes me so long to take tests, or to study." She would get really good grades, but she knew that her friends could get their work done so much faster or complete their tests so much faster. And I looked into it, and they actually do offer accommodations for ACT, SAT if you have a diagnosis of a learning disability or probably ADHD. I don't remember particularly looking into that because I didn't think any of us had ADHD back then. But you can have accommodations to have a much longer time to take those tests. And I mentioned to her because you'd have to, I think their requirements were not only something from the doctor, but also from the teachers. It was either one or the other. Maybe if you had I don't know if you're familiar with every state's different. So I was going to say in the US, but in California, it's an IEP if you have an individual education plan. So if you had an IEP and they allowed you more time to take your test, then maybe you could get that. I don't know. I started looking into it, but she didn't really want to stand out at that point. Like, no, I don't want Mom, you can just stay out of it. It'll be okay. But I didn't completely stay out of it because I did find an ACT, SAT tutoring place and paid for that, drove her there, took her there. And I don't know, she knew how to drive. I don't know why I was driving her there. I think I was being her support system. I could go shopping or something in between, but it really did help just having that accommodation of the tutoring. So tutoring can be an accommodation or actually talking to a school or talking to a workplace. They often will make accommodations. Sometimes they're legally required to make accommodations. Or you become your biggest advocate and you ask for accommodations. I mentioned on a previous episode that I was at a doctor's office and well there are a lot of times. I don't know if your brain goes a little crazy with audible information coming in and your brain's already maxed out from other things. So you could be, like at the counter ordering burritos or something, and the person's talking to you and you're thinking, I'm trying to make a decision here. So you might say, just a second, that's an accommodation. Just a second, I'm trying to figure this out, and you're asking for help. But also, pharmacists, doctor's office, they ask you so many questions that you're just supposed to remember. Last four digits of your social security number or your driver's license number or whatever they're asking. And these are things that I know in my head without having to look them up. But if I'm already trying to fill something else out, listen to them just maxed out because I got lost getting there or whatever it is, then I say things like, I can't answer that right now. If you wait a minute after I finish this, then I'll answer it. And you can make your own accommodation in real life if you have to. Yeah, you can ask for people to help you out. Help me out here. So, and connecting with other women with ADHD. So that can be like the group therapy, but it can just be a group. It could be a group online. It could be a Facebook group. It could be Reddit. It could be wherever, and or social media. That's kind of a trap in a way, but there are Instagram accounts, TikTok. I'm not really a TikToker person. YouTube, I have my podcast on YouTube, but maybe someday I'll do more of this stuff, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I can't do it all at once. I have ideas for that, but you can't go chasing every little idea or you won't get anything done. So right now, my priority is making this podcast. The other things will come. But you can learn things from social media or YouTube for ADHD to get support. You just have to be careful because it's not always accurate, especially the social media things. If it's just people telling their experience, sometimes it's accurate. I believe that things can be accurate without a doctor having an understanding of it. I'm not against doctors at all. I really respect doctors and learn from doctors I mean, I'm saying I'm not against doctors. That's kind of a funny statement, but I think some people don't think, like, oh, doctors don't know as much as they think they do. I think they know a ton. They know way more than I do. But I also think sometimes when we have an experience, we we find connections and we just go, "Oh my goodness, I thought I was the only person who did that." And if you went to your doctor and said, "Is this an ADHD thing?" They'd probably tell you no. And one of them is the shoulder joint thing and the hip joint thing. Have you heard of this before? If you like to sit around with your arm up high or lay down with your arm in the air, if you've done that ever since you can remember, I've done it since I was a teenager. If you sit down and you like to have your knee or your foot or both, well, I don't know if you can have, yeah, I guess higher than your hips and without even knowing it. You're sitting at the table and your foot's on a chair. You're sitting at a table and your calf is on the table. I did this in high school without even really much thought in the car, always having your feet up. It releases something, I'm convinced. And at least for me, it just, I can't, I have a harder time sitting still without doing that. And when I first saw some YouTube video of somebody or Facebook group, somebody saying, here I am sitting here waiting for my daughter at soccer practice, and she's got her foot on the front seat of the car, sitting there with her steering wheel and her foot there and her knee up. And she said she'd seen a TikTok of someone saying, this is an ADHD thing. And everyone was just chiming in like, my goodness, I've been doing that my whole life. I didn't know anybody else did that. I'm convinced. I don't think it's just a hypermobility thing because just because you're hypermobile, this is my yoga teacher thing coming in, just because you have ultra flexibility, it doesn't mean that you need to be that way to feel calm and relaxed. Like I'm hypermobile in my knee joint where if I do a triangle pose or something, I will lock it and it will look kind of concave. Is that a word? Kind of swooped. And for better knee health, it's better to not lock it like that and to have a slight bend. We call it a micro bend in yoga. And the way to do that, if you don't know this, if you're in a yoga class, there is a way to support it with a block, but depending on how tall you are, it doesn't always work. But the best way to do it is just to push into the ball of your foot and it just brings that knee up. But never ever in my life does it feel better to just like, oh, I need to hyperextend my knee. That's not what relaxes me. In fact, it kind of overstretches my glutes and hamstrings. And yeah, so I have to kind of watch against that. Maybe for somebody else it feels good, but I'm just saying that just because you can bend in a certain way doesn't mean it's more relaxing to do that. But why would it be more relaxing to be like I'm raising my hand all the time? Besides being a child that always wanted to raise my hand because, I always wanted to participate. But your doctor your doctor, if you go to a psychiatrist, if where you live, you need to see a doctor, a medical doctor. Maybe it's not a psychiatrist, but if you need to see a doctor to talk about medication, to ask questions, that's where I learned OCPD is often related to ADHD. OCD can be linked, but it's more common for the other. That's where I kind of blew my mind, like OCPD, never heard of that. And I was able to learn and support myself in it because I can relate to so many things there. But yeah, your doctor. And just a little side note, it's different in different states, the laws for medication and who you need to see and everything. But you may need to see a specialist, like a psychiatrist, to get your medication for your diagnosis or to get diagnosed. You may not need to continue to see a specialist just to get the refills. And just check with your doctor, check with your primary doctor and see it might be different in different states. But when I didn't have insurance that paid very well for the psychiatrist, it was just way too expensive. It was almost $300 each time I went. It was every 6 months. And I thought I can't keep doing this even on a payment plan. So I asked my doctor, my family doctor, or whatever you call your regular doctor, and I asked her if she could do the refills or if I could have visits with her instead every 6 months, which cost me more like $10. And she said yes, as long as there isn't a change in the medication. So that's what I did for a while until my insurance changed, and now it's the same cost to go to the psychiatrist. So I just go to the psychiatrist in case I want to make a change. But I haven't in a while. So that's just a little aside there for your support with doctors, which doctor, if you need to see the specialist or not. Another thing is just asking anyone for help, and not just accommodations, but support to do things that you can't do. That could be whether it's somebody just in your daily life or someone that you're actually paying to help you. And then also just helping, I don't know, there's a kind of a fine line with this, but helping others understand ADHD better. Not everyone is supportive in that way. I don't know if you've heard the response of everyone has their thing. We're all a little bit ADHD, things that show that they don't really understand it. And I just look at that like I didn't used to understand it either. And if that's not something they're interested in learning about, or they haven't learned enough I don't need to be the person to teach them, I guess is how I feel. I don't want to argue with anybody about it, but not meaning you, but them. But you can help others see, you can educate people who are willing to learn about it and help them know how they can support you better, even without telling them this is an ADHD thing. You may have done this without even realizing it before you had a diagnosis or before you realized you had ADHD. But just saying to somebody, "Don't talk to me while I'm doing this, I'm trying to focus on that," is a way to say, "You can support me right now by not talking," and that can be helpful, which might be funny to say if we're a talkative person, we might be more of the talker, but that can happen sometimes where you're trying to figure something out, and then someone is saying something to try to help you do it, and you just let them know, "Just give me a minute to think about it, and then I can have that input." So just helping people without even saying, "This is an ADHD thing," but you can say, "Because my brain does this, because I have a hard time with this, can you do that?" And then the last one is being your own biggest supporter, your own, you can call it a cheerleader, looking for new ways to do things, a better system, a better method. That can be a way of support, but you could also just give yourself a break. That could be a support. If you ever help someone else out, you look at baseball. I've been watching a lot of baseball lately, and there's a relief pitcher that comes in when the pitcher isn't doing so well anymore. And that's to benefit the team for sure. But there might be times that other people relieve you when you have just, I can't keep doing this. And you can do that for yourself. You can give yourself permission to not have to be all that, to not have to make as much use of your time as you hoped you would. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And not beat yourself up about it. It's not feeling the guilt, not constantly feeling like you have to be at some level or reach some level. And when that level isn't attained for some reason, obviously, we don't want to never be able to do what we want to do. But if you have those days, just tell yourself, this is one of those days, and I guess I need the break, and let yourself have that break. So whether you're a support by being a cheerleader and saying, you're doing great, or just saying, just, you're fine. You're just supporting yourself in any way that works. So how do we fit this into our lives? Well, being your own support, you don't have to fit that in. That's not hard at all. But there are some things that if you just want to learn more about ADHD and you want to fit it into your daily routine, there are ways to do that with while you're getting ready, while you're taking a shower. I listen to podcasts or scriptures or radio, or I don't really listen to the radio anymore. Do I ever? I don't think so. But that's when I used to do my audio time, was in the shower. I don't take showers as often anymore, so that routine isn't, or at least not as consistently. I take them after hot yoga instead of before, different things. But watching something on a laptop while you're putting on the makeup, I do that a lot. I sign up for so many courses or webinars. I don't even know if they call them webinars anymore. I'm in different memberships to learn about things like running my business, if they can call this a business. I'm calling it a business, even though I'm not really making money with it. And learning that there's a lot to learn. So being able to do that, just playing that video, being in that session while I'm doing my makeup or doing my hair, coloring my hair. I'm not coloring my own hair anymore, but all those things, fitting it in to your day, having a place for your laptop in your bathroom or your phone if you need to do that. And all the things that you could do while you're traveling in your car, on a walk, audio and video check-ins. Do you do any of that? Do you use Marco Polo to check in with a friend? It could be somebody that you're using for accountability on your workouts. I did my workout this morning and you're just doing a video check-in. WhatsApp does videos too. They don't let you do them as long on WhatsApp. But audio on your cell phone, if you don't use audio, if you just text, audio can be tricky because if you push the wrong button, you can send an audio when you didn't want to. But if you get better at it, I've gotten better at it. You can send an audio to somebody and it's so much easier to fit in and it's so much more complete than sending a text. Yeah, if you are okay with that, it's pretty fabulous. And even just reflecting on something while you're driving, giving yourself some time without any sound to just think about things. You can make little audio recordings if you have an idea or something, maybe not while you're driving, but while you're walking or something. But, and then while you're trying to get work done, the body doubling, which is basically you're both working at the same time while whether it's in the same space, you both meet at a coffee shop and get on your laptops, or body doubling can be doing a workout if that's your goal, is you work out together, meet at the gym, go to a class, all that kind of stuff. But even just doing a Zoom session and you work on something, you talk about it a little bit, they work on something, you do it together, whether it's a big group or just a friend. But even setting a timer or some kind of an app that helps you stay on task. I've set a timer before, like 30 minutes. It works better for me if I do that on my computer. Like you literally Google 30-minute timer and it starts. If I set it in my kitchen, that means I'm walking around. I usually forget and sometimes I come back in. And it's better if I'm sitting still. But writing notes to yourself. Now that can be something like staying, like don't forget to do this. You're supposed to do that today, like your to-do list or what you can't forget. But it can also be a note of kindness, that kind of support, or even a strategy that you just learned for ADHD. And you write that down, or some little quote that you read. You can print it out or write it up, write it down, put it on your mirror, put it on your fridge, and have it visible. And just alone time. That could be your scheduling alone time. It might work out better somewhere that's not in your home where you don't get distracted, but you can decide that. So, yeah, so many things that you can do. I even listened to a podcast while I was exercising at the gym. That was a new one about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't really watch. I had it on my phone. I didn't really have to see the people. It was a YouTube thing. It wasn't, how some podcasts aren't audio, they're only YouTube podcasts. So this was one of those. It was just about Survivor. It wasn't important, but it kept me going with my workout. And it helped me reach my goals. And working out is an ADHD strategy because it can boost the dopamine, serotonin, all those things that we need. But what else? What else? What else? Calming things. I'm going to do that probably in the next podcast, is give you a calming, not just a practice, but just some ideas for calming your brain, for allowing yourself to get that support that you need because you can't constantly be going. The slow down ideas. There are a lot of them. And it's not just a checklist, it's just actually methods that I use to just breathe more slowly, not just kind of your simple things. There's so many that you can do. And you could just listen to that episode laying down or something. I like just laying on the floor because a harder floor is actually easier for your body to relax than something soft that can constantly be, you're not quite comfortable. But you can do it however you want. But just don't listen to it while you're driving. so you can see how it works in your body to really slow down like that. And then the other things are just things that you can do on your computer, your screen, your phone, your iPad, whatever you use, whether it's a group like a check-in group or just having reminders set, all those things you can spend a little time. You can support yourself by setting up those systems. What's my calendar method going to be? Do you have a good calendar reminder method that comes to your phone? Is it disrupted? Do I need to change it out? And setting alarms, all those kinds of things. I find that sometimes the default methods, like in Google Calendar or Apple Calendar, I use both. I don't know why. I think because some people send it different ways. But what they do is kind of depending on the app, and it could depend on if you send something to your calendar that somebody else invites you to. You sign up for something and it says, "Do you want to add this to your calendar?" And you say, "Sure," but you don't really change any settings, or it might be a default setting in your calendar app. And what I was finding is sometimes I get an email reminder and I think, I don't want this email reminder. It's like it really doesn't help because I'm not looking at my email that often. Or it comes up in a banner on my phone, or it shows up like a half hour before or an hour before, and it's not very helpful. So, whenever you notice some system not working like that, like you're getting reminders that are disrupting your life instead of helping your life, or I really need this to be on my Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, whatever it is. It might be a calendar app, but I don't need to be notified at that time. Then take time that can support your day, your week, the rest of your life, as long as you want to use that system. But you set it up, you go through everything on your calendar, and it will let you do it for this occurrence or every occurrence if it's a once a week thing. I don't need to be notified, or I want to be notified 5 minutes before, not 30 minutes before. Or maybe you do want to be notified 30 minutes before so you know it's time to leave. Whatever that is, if it helps you, then keep doing it, but if it's not supporting you, then it's not supporting you. It's not your helper. Helper. So, yeah. Yeah, it's taking time to do those little things. Sometimes the support is taking time to do something that supports you, like a person taking time to go on a walk, exercise, go to the gym, go to an appointment, whatever it is, those kind of things. Listen to this, journal, even in the evening, journaling, whether it's making an audio note for yourself. You might not ever even listen to it again, but it helps you say it out loud. Or one of my friends actually keeps a video journal on Marco Polo for herself. You could do that, or just write things down if you love to write things down. One of my friends just told me that she does is something that her mom did is every day you write down something on a card. It's like a card system, it's in a file. And you write down on a card a thought or what you did. And her mom would just do it in one sentence. She does more than one sentence, but that's her journal system. And at the end of the year, I guess this whole file setup is like for June 1st. The next year, you put in the card for the next June 1st and you can compare it to the one before. So that's if, and she has ADHD. So that's pretty cool, huh? I don't know that there's a time in my life that I could have done that kind of thing. Right now, I don't know how I would. But in high school, college, my brain was totally wired to do that. It would be, and that would be cool too. But, um, but yeah, other times we're just fitting things in to set up a new system. It's not always easy, but it is that sharpening the saw. We're making the whole system better and more effective and supporting ourselves by doing that. And that is it for today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Just looking at my time. Oh, I don't know my time. I stopped partway through because my mouth started not matching my voice. And sometimes I have two cameras in here for my yoga. It wasn't matching perfectly. And I thought I just going to start a new one. But thank you for being here today. And I will be back again. Like I said, I'll do the calming episode. I shouldn't tell you what I'm gonna do because, when I tell you the next episode, then I get locked into it. So, we'll see. That one will come pretty soon, maybe the next one. I'm keeping it open. I'm not locking myself in anymore. I love some structure, but not all of it. Not as much as I used to, I guess. And thank you again for being here and supporting my podcast. Feel free to leave a review if you haven't before, share it with somebody. download the episodes. Maybe you already are, but that helps my podcast grow and helps make my day. Thank you so much. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.